Hey everybody, welcome to the advice stream. I'm your host, Jeremy International. We are live on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube, as well as over on JeremyInternational.com. Pushing some buttons and getting stuff set up. Something, as always, has gone wrong with my audio, like it always does. There we go. And so, hello, welcome. If you're new to the stream, the advice stream is the stream where we play old video games of one sort or another. And then, we talk about advice. If you'd like to seek advice from me, your pal Jeremy International, as well as my guest for the evening, you can head on over to JeremyInternational.com, spelled just like it sounds. There's a contact form on yon bottom of website, and you can send a message that way. We got a couple questions that have built up over the last few weeks, and then as always, a couple that I've borrowed from various places on the internet, just to kind of keep the conversation going. Today, we will be playing, for us, relatively speaking, a new-ish game, and a PC game at that. We've never played PC games. We're going to play, I believe, 2014, a game called Banished. It's like a city building, like a village management simulator. And it's one of my favorite games ever. I really like those kind of resource management building games. It sounds really boring when you explain it that way. Hey, Amir, Happy New Year. Of course, Happy GD New Year, everybody. I almost said a word we try not to say on the stream, but we'll probably say it anyways. Happy New Year 2024, if you can believe it. I'm old enough to remember when people were talking about like the year 2000, as being like the future. And that was 2 decades ago. Thanks for saying Happy New Year, Amir. If you're following along at home, feel free to just throw a message into the chat, regardless of what platform you are using. So we'll be playing Banished. It's a little modded if you played Banished before. I got a few mods going just because the game doesn't scale up so much, and I like to have real big communities going on here. And blah, blah, blah. And of course, our special guest is my friend and yours, Oldman. Let's go ahead and bring Oldman on. Whoa. Hold on, Oldman, you're muted. Okay, go.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, don't do that. Oldman and I have had a plethora of audio problems, and I don't know if that's a joke I feel comfortable with right now.
No, I won't do it again.
Thank you.
It's going all right. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Did we talk about this? Did you do anything for New Year's? I never do anything for New Year's.
It depends. I didn't this year. Sometimes I do. I just was really terrible at making plans over the holidays this year.
I think I don't even know how many years ago, probably getting close to a decade ago, me and some friends did a show on New Year's, and it was such a disaster and so stressful, and so many people, including us, got unpleasantly intoxicated that I was like, that's it, I'm done. Never do New Year's again. My partner and I talked about staying up late and playing Baldur's Gate 3, which we've been playing a little bit. And we didn't even do that. I think we were out by 11:30. We're watching, did we talk about this last week? We're watching The Bear. Man, that's such a good show, The Bear.
I don't think we talked about it last week, but that's the one about the back of the house guy, right? Works in a restaurant?
That's not untrue. Yeah, I don't know if that does the show service to describe what it's about, but it's about that among other things. It's like saying Highlander's about a Scottish guy. It is. But there's a lot more going on than that. Hey, Hickman834. Happy New Year from Hickman's GF. Happy New Year, Hickman's GF.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Hickman's GF is chatting while he eats veggies. Hickman, eating veggies is good. You should be eating. I gotta ask what kind of veggies he got there. Hickman's GF, what's he eating? There's a little bit of a delay. I'm curious. I
I'll
like a
find
good
nice ones.
veggie. I've been known to eat some veggies from time to time. My the only thing kind of out of the ordinary that we did last night is one of the I like to cook. Sometimes I'm good. Sometimes I'm not. I made a whole roast chicken, which is something it's
Hmm.
easy to do, but it just it feels fancy.
Yeah.
So we kind of do that on special occasions when it's just the three of us. And I had a bunch of old carrots, so I decided to make like a ginger and soy sauce stir fry with the carrots, and it wasn't great. But
Mhm.
that chicken's always, if you eat chicken, it's always perfect. Carrots, tomatoes, and broccoli. Those are three solid veggies, although one of them is a fruit. I don't know why that sounded ominous the way that I said it. We all culturally we all acknowledge that tomatoes, or culturally we all pretend that tomatoes are veggies, but they are in fact fruit. But that's okay. You know the difference between a fruit and a vegetable, Oldman?
No, please tell me.
The fruit is the part of the plant that the plant wants you to eat.
Yes, that's true. And I won't eat it.
Yeah. Okay. We're jumping off, getting real weird right away. I like it. Did you do anything out of the ordinary for New Year's?
No, because it's pretty ordinary for me to be like pushing up against the end of the month. I had to get some work done yesterday,
I see.
and I just stayed in for the most part.
Yeah, I like staying in. I mean, I like going out when it's appropriate, but for New Year's, it's just too much.
I mean, I was supposed to go down to Richmond to see some friends,
Mm-hmm.
and there was an event, and they sold out of tickets, so that didn't work. And I did find out today that one of those friends has COVID, and so she wasn't even able to make it.
Oh,
And I don't feel good about that, but it does make me feel less bad.
yeah. That's a long drive to go to then not be able to see
I
the
know I feel
person you
bad.
want. It's a long way to go to get COVID. You can get COVID a lot closer to home if you want.
Hmm.
I'm sure there's somebody. Um, Hickman says we decided to pick up kimchi for New Year's after your last talk. Yum and made
Nice.
sushi. That's great. I'm glad I get paid by the international kimchi industry.
Hmm.
So we've got one more customer, kimchi people. Do we have an unofficial sponsor? What do I have laying
Well,
around
yeah. So what's in front of you right now? Name something in your office, and that's our unofficial sponsor.
that I want to have? Okay. Our unofficial sponsor for today is Sublingual B12 vitamins. You don't have to swallow them, they go right under your tongue and go right into your blood system. I am missing the part of my body that generally absorbs B12 from your food.
Hmm.
So I have to have those that dissolve through my mouth parts.
That makes sense.
And it's a good vitamin as far as vitamins go. It's got
Yeah, if I get some supplements, if you want us to hawk your product, I'll do it. I have tons of
yeah, I'm
supplements
gonna
upstairs.
totally start selling supplements on this streaming service. Well, it'll be multi-level marketing, so I won't sell the
Right, of
supplements. I'll
course.
sell you on buying supplements to then sell to other people to get them to sell to other people. There's no actual
Yeah,
customers,
but not if I can get to it first and sell them to you before you can sell them to me.
Man, what a nightmare that business is. Did you see? Speaking of things that I'm not going to say make me happy, but are interesting. There's a really great podcast called The Dream. That the
Hmm.
first season, every season about something different, but the first season's about like the history of multi level multi level marketing.
Hmm.
And man, it's sad how easily people get taken advantage of. It's too bad.
Yeah, that's an excellent podcast.
Yeah, it's a good one. Um, what else is going on, Oldman? Do you have like
Um,
highlights of your year? We just finished the
Highlights of
year.
my
Do you have a
year.
highlight, one or two things that like that was a good time of that whole year?
Not really. No, I'm just kidding. It was not an easy year for me, but
No.
yeah, I guess the big highlight is getting my loans forgiven or being in the right place to get them forgiven this year.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I've given up trying to pay off my I mean, I'll make the payments or whatever, but I'll just be paying for that until I'm dead.
Well, they go away after 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, you have to pay consistently though for 20 years.
I don't think
Right?
that's true. I'm
Oh,
not
they just
sure.
go away
Don't take
after-
legal advice from me.
Okay.
Just I'm pretty
I
sure
think-
that they go away, but you get taxed on it or something, if I remember right.
the whole thing bums me out. I was really hoping Amtrak Jack, that's what I call President Biden, by the way, was going to help me out on that, and he did not.
Yeah.
Still going to vote for him again, though. Well, that's a pretty big highlight, though. You know, debt is a stressful thing. Lots of people deal with lots and lots of debt. I was lucky. I have a really big family. So when people in my family have a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah when you're 13, everyone just gives you stocks and bonds. And then the understanding is you go to college and you sell all of those and it pays for your education. So I essentially got my undergrad, which is in performing in visual arts, for free because of my bar mitzvah. But then, like an idiot, I went to grad school and took out the maximum amount of debts that I could take for grad school. And then that's a whole disaster. Highlights from my year, you know, I think everyone probably had a rough year, and I suspect this coming year is probably going to be rough for everybody in hopefully different ways, at least. You know, I got laid off. I quit the job I had been doing for 16 years and started another job and got laid off. It took me a long time to find another job, but I did. That all happened last year. But my health is good. I still don't have cancer, so that's something to celebrate.
Ooh.
So that's the highlight. My kid is 3, and 3 is the age I think when kids start to like actually be fun. They can do stuff and you can interact with them, and you don't have to chase after them constantly because they're gonna kill themselves. And so it's been it's been a fun year for being a dad. That's a highlight of just a million little things that I've been able to do with my kid that I wasn't able to do before. It's been great. There was a new Japanese Godzilla movie last year. That doesn't happen very often, and it was really good. Godzilla -1 came out, so that's a big one. What else? I don't know if I really got into a lot of new music. I mean, I really invested in music that I knew already, which is always fun to do. But I don't know if there's any new, like totally new music that came out in 2023 that really got to me. But I haven't listened to a lot of new music because I'm old and it gets harder as you get older. If anyone's watching out there and there's an album that came out in 2023 that you think is really good, let me know, please. Because I would like to know, to discover new music again.
I'd like to know too.
Yeah, put that in the chat, gang. If you heard something that came out in 2023 that's good, please let us know.
Hi, Julian.
Omen Sama. Omen Sama's been chatting before. It's good to see you again, friend. Happy New Year. Okay, so should we get into Banished, or should we do a question first?
Let's do a question first.
Yeah, let's do a question first. I got one that came in from the website. I'm going to save that one for later because it's a really interesting question, and I'm excited to have a longer discussion with it. Let's start with a short one that doesn't have a lot of complete sentences in it. For the record, I like the short ones, but please, complete sentences, people. Thank you. This one says, matched with her on Hinge, and we've spoken every day. Went on a dinner date. Everything is great. However, she said she would be very busy this weekend prior to, and I've barely spoken to her since Friday. I can't tell you for sure when this message came in, so I don't know how long ago that was. No Christmas text either. Messaged her yesterday just to check in, and she responded. However, nothing since. Don't want to annoy her and give her space. Just wondering if this is normal or if I should be concerned. She did let me know she'd be busy in advance.
Sounds like somebody's got the Hinge jitters.
Yeah, I know. I think you're thinking about it too much, person.
Yeah,
She said she's busy, so she's busy. And then
I
also, I
wouldn't
mean,
be
this is
worried.
this is the thing about dating. Worst case scenario is she's moved on, and then that's what happens. I would say if you're dating people, whether you're meeting them on websites or not, if you're using the apps or not, most of the people you date are gonna fade away into the background. That's what dating means. So hopefully that's not it. Hopefully she reaches back out to you and things keep moving if you like her. But don't think about it too much. Give her some space. If you
Hmm.
haven't heard from her in another week, then send a follow up and just say, "Hey, I don't want to bug you. If you moved on, that's cool. I won't leave. I won't send you any more messages. But I thought we had a good time, and I'd love to see you again. Let me know."
Yeah.
Easy.
Try to play it cool. I know how hard that can be
Yeah.
from my own experience, but do your best.
I haven't dated in a long time, so. But I think the rules of dating. I dated a lot for a long time, also. I think the rules more or less stay the same. Hinge wasn't around when I was dating, but other apps were, and I used all of
Yeah.
those heavily. So Hickman says I was skeptical of Godzilla -1. Hickman wanted to see it. This is still Hickman's GF. I love this. We went, and it was the best movie I've watched in years. Yeah, you know, if you've seen the show before, you might know I'm a really big Godzilla fan. Ooh, what we should do is we should play every Godzilla game. I have a lot of them
Oh yeah,
on
that's a
the
great
stream. We
idea.
can just do like an overview of Godzilla games.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and Godzilla movies are all over the place. Some are great, some are terrible, and some aren't either, but they're just fun. And this was definitely, I'd say, -1 is the the best Godzilla movie I've seen since the original Japanese 1954 Godzilla. And that's saying a
Wow.
lot because also a few years ago was another Japanese Godzilla movie called Shin Godzilla, which is also really,
Hmm.
really good. It is the most horror movie, Godzilla movie, but it doesn't hit the like human personal story the way that -1 does, and the way
Hmm.
that I would say to a lesser extent the original 1954 does too. If you like -1, go back and watch the original 1954 Godzilla. Make sure you don't watch the American version; it's very different. Watch if you're on like it's on Criterion, it's in a bunch of places. Make sure you watch it in Japanese with subtitles, just like -1 is. And obviously the special effects don't age super well, but the movie itself is amazing. But yeah, -1. If you like -1, the director of that movie did another movie based on a manga that I never read a few years ago called The Great War of Archimedes, which is also like a wartime Japanese movie that,
Hmm.
as a person that's not Japanese and doesn't necessarily know a lot about uh, wartime Japanese culture. I thought the movie was really fascinating and
Hmm.
really brave in how it kind of puts up a lens in a really critical way to, what I'm assuming is some of the ancestors of all of the people that worked on the movie. So you should check that out if you like -1. Great War of Archimedes, also really good movie. Hickman says, "Will do. He's seen them all. You literally forget it's subtitled. That was my hesitation." Yeah, it's difficult to watch a movie with subtitles that has a lot of action in it. But Hickman says, "No wonder he depicted the war time so elegantly." Yeah, in a very similar way, the same type of vibe of this country that was kind of forced into this horrible situation by its leaders, and they were all betrayed by it, and everyone is in a much worse off place afterwards. The Great War of Archimedes kind of is the reverse of that. It starts at the beginning. It's about the lead up to the war and about all of the ways that it didn't have to happen the way that it did or at all. And so it's good. Highly recommend it. It's a little hard to find. I think I watched it on what is that app called? It's Canopy with a K. You have to have a local library card, but then there's lots of independent and foreign movies you can
Mm-hmm.
watch through your library system.
Download
Uh,
Canopy today.
yeah, look down. Click the link in the bio. I don't have a bio or a link. Cool. What's your Oldman? What's your Godzilla experience like?
I have like zero Godzilla experience. I guess my Godzilla experience was that I had a toy that would like you'd roll it around and it had sparks come out of its mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
I have a growing alarmingly fast Godzilla toy collection. Like Godzilla's all over the place. There's some movies that are like powerful and moving, like the original one or like -1 or Shin Godzilla. And there's some movies that you can barely sit through, like the American one from the '90s with Matthew Broderick.
Mm-hmm.
But then most everything in between those two are just dumb fun, and I'm all about dumb fun these days. Omen Sama says, I don't know what's the thematic, but I would like to know what you think about imposter syndrome. We don't really have a thematic for the show today. We've talked before, Oldman and I have talked before about having themes for the advice. We've never really done that before.
When you had guests, you kind of did, like other
Yeah, I guess that's
guests.
fair. We did when we had guests. I'd like to start having guests again at some point, but I'm into
Mm-hmm.
playing video games for a little. We are going to get to Banish in just a minute. But Omen Sama is asking a question about imposter syndrome. Um, What are your what do you have thoughts, Oldman, about syndrome? Have you ever encountered imposter syndrome before?
Yeah, of course I've encountered it before. I feel like it would be a good description of how I've felt at times in my life, especially with regards to like what I do for a living.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but on the other hand, I think the idea of imposter syndrome can be um, something that you use to fail to grow in some ways. That's what it was for me, I should say. Is that I
yeah.
definitely like I would say to myself or I'd say to others I have imposter syndrome, and at some point I realized that what I was acting like an imposter in some ways and I needed to change those ways. So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts on it.
It's difficult because I feel like I sometimes Omen Sama says I have issues, for example, to acknowledge my own skills. I'm have been in a similar boat a lot of times, and like my current job is something when I started I actually didn't have a tremendous amount of experience with. I was really honest in the interview process, but they gave me the job anyways. And so there's been a lot of learning from my perspective that has been humbling but rewarding, and I think most people like to learn. I mean, I'll say this: if imposter syndrome comes from a lack of confidence, here's my pitch about confidence. Confidence is like confidence is like sleeping. No one just gets in bed, puts their head on the pillow, closes their eyes, and goes to sleep. That's not how sleeping works. You get in bed, you put your head on the pillow, you close your eyes, you lay still, you breathe slow, you kind of pretend that you're sleeping. And then at some point in the night, you are, and you wake up in the morning, and you can't remember when you stopped pretending to sleep and when you actually started to sleep. That's what confidence works the same way. You fake it. You pretend like you're confident. You pretend like you're confident. You're pretending more for yourself than for anybody else. And then eventually, at some point, you without realizing it, you switch from faking it to actually being confident. How long that takes and how that happens depends on a lot of factors about where you are and what resources you have. But it is, I think, essential. No one has ever, at least no healthy non psychopath person has ever gotten confidence in something without going through that faking it process, sometimes for quite a while. Uh, and that's certainly been my struggle with my job, is to remember that I kind of have to fake it more than anything, is to convince myself
Hmm.
the people that hired me have confidence in me. That's why they hired me. They could see something in me that isn't always clear to see in yourself. But faking it is what you got to do, and you shouldn't feel bad about that. That's not being an imposter. That's doing what literally every person that has ever appeared to be confident in anything has done. There's a lot of cliches around imposter syndrome, like you don't have to believe in yourself, believe in me, and I believe in you, and that should be good enough. I like that one. I don't know in the end if that's really helpful to anyone, but I like the sentiment behind it. Or there's the one about like you should be proud of your imposter syndrome because you're so clever that you fooled everyone into thinking you can do a thing you don't know how to do. I like the sentiment behind that one too. But ultimately, that's what it is. No one has ever just been confident. They fake it for sometimes years, and then eventually they actually own it. Someone asked me once, like a non-performer person that had seen my show a bunch of times, asked me once if I ever got nervous. And like the very first time you get on stage to do something, or the very first time you get on stage in front of a much larger group of people, whenever something really shifts in your expectations for your performance, then yeah, you get a little nervous. But you get over that fast because you ease into it, and you know that it's a show, and if you don't know what you're doing, you know what's expected of you. And people that perform a lot, not getting nervous isn't the right term, but the nervousness is different. It's more of an anticipation and an excitement, and you learn to lean into it. You learn to enjoy that feeling. And I think that's another thing, that people that don't have to do that regularly sometimes don't understand, is that feeling of nerves. Like if you have to get up and give a presentation at work or at school and you haven't done something like that before, that nervousness you have isn't a bad feeling. It's not something you should shy away from. It's something that can, if you let it, be a source of joy and excitement. You just need to learn how to accept that feeling and to lean into it. That's my take. I hope that was helpful, Omen Sama.
It is. It's helpful.
Right.
I feel like it's going to take me a while to get there with anything, but that was a lot of insightful advice.
It takes everyone a long time to get into that. I had a job once where I was regularly getting in front of pretty large numbers of people, a couple hundred people at a time, to teach them how to use a piece of technology that I had only myself learned recently how to do. And I'm not sure that I was probably as competent as the people in the audience expected me to be, but that's how it goes. You gotta fake it, and I faked it. I pretended to be the subject expert that they thought that I was and that I needed to be, but I really wasn't. And eventually, I got there. Omen Sama says, "I heard everything with a smile on my face." Well, I hope that was good.
He's a good
Thanks.
dude.
Thanks for the discussion topic, Omen Sama. I like that one. Yeah, imposter syndrome is challenging, but everybody is just faking it all the time. Let's do some Banished, shall we?
Let's do some Banished.
Okay, we're gonna switch over like this. So this is how this game works, and the text is very small, but I'm gonna do a new game, and we're gonna do large. The name of our town is gonna be Advice Stream of Bania. And let's do it. It's gonna take a minute here to process. So I'm doing this on easy because we're really here to hang out, not necessarily to give ourselves a big challenge. So this is these are the tricks with this game. You have a population of people, and it grows as populations of people tend to do. Let's pause and have a look around. Winter comes by, and in the wintertime, you can't easily get access to food. You know, people don't have access to firewood. They are going to freeze to death. People can also get sick and die, and the disease can be super contagious. So we need to be careful of that. But we need to do things like get wood and food uh, and also medicine. One of the cool things about this game is that the wooded areas um, don't just come back. So if you if you clear cut this forest, there's things like medicine and herbs in there that you will lose forever. So you need to make sure if you want to have the herbs to make medicine, you need to make sure that you leave some wooded areas to grow so that they spawn wildlife so you can hunt them. They spawn berries so you can gather food. But most importantly, that is the only way to get the medicine. So I haven't played this game in years. So hold on a second. I got to remember where all the buttons are.
I did play a little bit of this. I remember when it came out or shortly thereafter. And I'm pretty sure everybody died my first winter.
Yeah,
and then I stopped.
It's one of those games that happens that you can have a winter where, and then every once in a while, like a big group of refugees shows up, and you can kick them out if you want to, or you can accept them. But if you keep them, then you get a bigger population. You have more people that can work to do things. But also, there's a chance that one of those refugees is sick, and then they spread disease. And if your population drops below a certain threshold, so you don't have enough people to produce food, and then the wintertime comes, you don't have any food, everyone dies, and that's a game over. And I'm gonna build a little roadway. Just to kind of
gotta say, I'm not a fan of that refugees message there, Jeremy, but
well,
I know it's just a game. It's just a game.
I always, every time, no matter what, I always accept all the refugees. I never.
Of course you do. I would know that. Yeah, I mean, about your kind-heartedness.
In a very practical sense, 2 of my 4 grandparents were refugees. So, if they had gotten turned away, then oh boy, would I be in big trouble. Okay, so let's start. Let's expand south. So we're gonna start, and also there's no audio. I don't know why.
We had problems.
So I'm gonna do a wood cutting deal here. Let's see here. And then also I should do a stone. Oh wait, I have to do harvest trees. Let's clear all of this.
Did you ever play Age of Empires or Warcraft 2 or any of those? Reminds me of that. Yeah.
There's no combat in this at all, though. Very important to keep that in mind. For better or for worse, I mean, do I wish that there was combat in it? Maybe. One of the reasons I thought about playing this game is because where's the collect rocks situation? How do I collect the rocks? One of the reasons I thought about playing this game, because I love this game. It's super hard, but it's really rewarding if you get it right. Is there's a game coming out soon, sometime early this year, called Manor Lords, which is kind of like this. It's like a medieval Europe community simulator, and that one does have combat. Oh my god, it's wintertime already.
Oh, geez.
I probably have a decent amount of food. Yeah, how do we I'm trying to remember. Oh man, the text is so small. You can build like a little interface here.
Are you playing in 4K?
So I'm streaming this through Steam from my PC downstairs.
Got it.
The display I'm using is 5K. The monitor I have downstairs I believe is 4K. I wonder if I can options and video.
Well, I have a SimCity story if you want to hear it.
I do, and I will. Did I just make everything smaller? I made everything smaller. I would love to hear your SimCity story. I'll go ahead and say. Oh, that's better. That I found a good deal on a copy of
Mm-hmm.
SimCity for the Super Nintendo, and also for the PlayStation. And SimCity 2000 was out on the PlayStation.
Yeah, it
Um,
was.
so I should have those by the time we stream next, and I would like to play one of those games.
Is it spring again?
Yeah, I think I got the time going real fast. I also have it on easy. Okay, this is what I needed. Professions. So I got laborers, but I need some gatherers.
This is the Dwarf Fortress element of it that I remember, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I need a woodcutter, and I need a builder, and that's probably all I need right now. But this game looks really good. If I remember correctly, it was uh, all designed and everything from the ground up by one person.
Hmm.
Um, when when I was and I probably need more houses. When I was first trying to play this game, I had read or heard something about it. Um, that I didn't have a PC, so I was figuring out how to get it to run on my Mac
Mm-hmm.
and having a really hard time. And one of my roommates at the time saw like the loading screen come in, but then I wasn't running great on a Mac, so it froze. And he just saw the first couple of inches of each letter, and he's like, "Are you playing a game called Banjoed?" So that's what we call this for a long time. If you're just
Banjo.
joining us now, by the way, everybody, this is the Advice Stream. I'm your host, Jeremy International. I'm joined today by my friend and yours, Oldman. The Advice Stream is a stream where we play. Hey, it's Jugsy. We play old video games. This one's not as old as some. And we give advice. We answer advice related questions from people. If you'd like to seek advice from me, Jeremy International, and Oldman, and the audience at home, we all kind of discuss together. You can head on over to JeremyInternational.com, and there is a actual factual contact form you can fill out and send in questions that way. I got a few. We'll get to them in a minute. That came through. We're just going to play this for a little while longer. I don't remember what these question marks mean. I think it means there are citizens without jobs. Oh no, you don't have a job. Uh, just fulfill your life to the best of your abilities. So in the winter time, people need firewood. This is a game, Jugsy, called Banished. It's a PC game from 2014. I really loved it a lot. I haven't played it in a long time. But it's kind of a community management, resource management style game. I'm kind of clear cutting this wooded and rocky area to the south. And we'll deal with that as needed. Let me get a couple more builders. And we should probably start finding a way to get some food. I just don't remember what any buttons do. Gathering hut. We'll do a gathering hut here. And we probably need a well. People like to have water. Let's put that right in the middle. We'll make a little square. Where do I get the... Okay. I think that's all good. But you have to do things like you have to have food, you have to have clothes, you have to have clean water. And then the winter time comes and everybody dies. Jugsy's asking, did anyone ever play Settlers? Yeah, I played that game a little bit too. This is like Settlers, but a little bit more hardcore, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm playing this is because I'm very excited and anticipation of a game coming out sometime this year called what is it called again? Manor Lords, which is kind of like this, but it's like a medieval community, and then you also have to do things like raise an army and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to get into that. I think I should probably. I don't like where this house is, so let's get rid of it. How do I get rid of the house?
Does everybody have jobs now?
3 people don't have jobs.
It seems a little funny to me, the idea that there's like unemployment in a situation like this. I know that that's not what it really is representing, but like,
right.
you kind of have to have a job in a situation like this.
Yeah, how do I tell this I don't want this built after all? I don't remember. Well, let's just build it. Who cares? Essentially, if you have food, if you have water, if people aren't dying, then you build houses and your population increases. Now, when people have a baby, the baby like ages a couple of years and then starts working. Unless you have a school and you have space in the school, then that person goes to school, so they start working later in their life, but then they're more efficient. And the work that they do produces more resources. So having a school is a good idea. I'm only building in wood right now. These are houses, and then I have a barn and a stockyard. But in the wintertime, you can build out of stone, and in the wintertime, houses made out of stone need less firewood. So that's also a big efficiency related situation. Let's make it go a little faster.
The children yearn for the mines.
The children yearn for the mines, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this game is super deep, it's super complicated. And then I have some mods in place that kind of make it the number of crops and like livestock and stuff you have increases. You can also build like a trading post on the river. So if there's a resource that you have an abundance of, you can start to like trade it in for stuff that you need. Let's also get some hunting, but the hunting place I'm gonna put more out here, I think. So yeah, this is the game. It's I really like this style of game, and as far as this style of game goes, I would say this is usually I would say is the best. At least it's my favorite one of those. The only problems with it is it doesn't like scale up really well. I'm assuming the developer, I think it was just one person, didn't anticipate having like a really massive town with hundreds and hundreds of people in it. So once you reach a certain size of a community, like food distribution falls apart for no reason. You can have mountains and mountains of food all over the place, but people just stop getting it. And you can have everyone starve to death, which has happened to me a couple of times. I doubt we're going to get that far on this. This is really just kind of, I think, a one-off we'll probably be doing with this game. Just because, did I build, that's the gatherer's hut. I need them to open up. But because I clear cut the forest, there's not actually going to be a whole lot of gathering that's going to happen down here. But our food is running low, so we do need to get started on that. Doesn't make an awful lot of sense for me to start farming right now because I don't have a lot of staff. I don't have a lot of people to do that. Let's see, now I've got a hunter lodge, so I need to put people into that. So you assign jobs for people to do. Um, Oldman was making a joke before about how unemployment could be a problem in this type of situation, but it kind of is. Let's build another house. And
Can you rename the people?
I think you can. I am likely gonna everything I'm building right now gonna tear down once I start to get a better sense of like where things are. And I will also build more. I will expand my stockpile. But yeah, so this is the game. It's super fun.
You know, it would be cute
What
if,
would be cute?
well, you know how people like they make their family in The Sims.
Yeah, that's true. If I
This
name,
this is yeah. You could make your family here, and
yeah, the problem is they're all gonna die.
yeah, that's true. And yeah, it's a lot harsher than The
Uh,
Sims would be.
um, okay, why don't we pause and let's do another question?
All right.
Because that's going pretty good. I could probably even let it run in the background, but I'm not gonna do that. So here's one that came in from the audience, and this is definitely a complex one.
All right.
I'm
Let's hear it.
excited to discuss with everybody. And as always, audience at home here, when I'm doing a question here, feel free to chime in. This is meant to be a discussion, a conversation. Happy New Year, Jeremy and Oldman. Oh, that's nice.
Aw.
My warmest wishes for you in this coming year. Wow, what a class act to start a question off that way. I wanted to ask for advice about my older brother. I've been feeling concerned about him for a while, but this weekend my mom and sister approached me to express their concerns too. And so I've decided it's time to do something about it. For context, he's 31 and has been unemployed for about 2 years. I have some friends who have college degrees and are struggling to find a job right now, so I know it's even more tough for him since he doesn't have a degree. 2 years ago, when he couldn't keep paying his rent, he had to move back in with my parents. For a while, he kept on trying, but at this point, it seems like he's given up and is not interested in finding a job or seeking training. He just spends his days in his room not communicating with anyone. He never goes out anymore, according to my parents. He quit going to the gym, and he never hangs out for birthdays or family gatherings with us. This weekend, my mom tried to convince him to spend New Year's Eve with us, but he explained he felt depressed and tired, and so he thought it would not be great. He would not be great company for us. I've been thinking about talking to him about seeking professional help, as in therapy or counseling. But since the whole thing stems from the current employment crisis, I don't know if it will be of any use or if he will listen at all. Any advice or different views would be greatly appreciated.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. I'll kind of jump in first, and Oldman,
Yeah.
interrupt me if you want to say anything about this. Your letter writer, your brother's problem isn't that he doesn't have a job. That's a symptom of his disease. I'm not a doctor. I'm legally obligated to tell you I'm not a doctor. To me, this seems like a person that's clinically depressed and maybe has been for a very, very long time. There's two different types of depression. There's like situational depression, which is totally normal and healthy. And then there's clinical depression, which is an illness, which is a disease. Your brain is sick and it's not able to produce the chemicals that it needs to produce in order for you to be a functioning person. The analogy I use is if you're swimming in the ocean by the Great Barrier Reef and you're scared of getting attacked by a shark, that's a good, healthy fear. Sharks are there. Sharks are dangerous animals. You should be scared if you're there. If you're sitting on your sofa and watching a documentary about a shark and you're scared of being attacked by a shark, then something's gone wrong and you need help. That's the difference. And to me, this seems really clear that your brother is sick, and he probably has been for a very, very long time. You mentioned he doesn't have a degree. If going to school and getting a degree is something that's common in your family, then I would suspect that maybe he's been suffering for a long time. Uh, I'll take a pause there. Jugsy's chimed in. Jugsy says, I'm going to chime in early. Therapy, go, go, go. Most of therapy these days is dealing with external pressures, so the therapist will be super aware and understanding of the employment situation. Yep, I've specifically had therapists in my life that specialized in helping people sort out complicated emotional situations around their work because I've had complicated emotions about my work for much of my life. That's a very good point, Jugsy, and I do want to lean in on what you're saying is that this letter writer's brother is sick and needs help. Sick in the way that people get sick in their body, they get sick in their brains, they get sick in their limbs, they get sick in their teeth. People get sick. Our bodies are weird, complicated messes, and they oftentimes don't work the way they're supposed to. When it comes to people that have a mental the sickness is in their brain, they have a mental health related problem. I think it's so often that people are like, just cheer up or go out and get exercise, or I think specifically this type of clinical depression, assuming that's what it is often perceived as laziness. Your brother's not lazy, he's sick, and he needs in a he I think everybody benefits from therapy from time to time. I know, Oldman, that's something you and I sometimes disagree with, and I think that's reasonable. I respect that disagreement, but I think the letter writer's brother is probably going to need more than a therapist. The
Yeah.
problem is you can't get people to go get treatment if they don't want to get
That's right.
treatment. You can't force someone to get better. And you can't force someone, going to the doctor and getting a diagnosis is only the first step in getting better with whatever type of sickness you have. They have to be committed to a treatment plan and you have to be invested in doing it.
Hmm. Yeah, that was one thing that I wanted to say was that I agree that therapy is a good idea here, as it is in almost any case. Um, and the way you want to approach it, you have to be pretty careful because it can come off sometimes somebody who wants to help that what the when if they press therapy too hard, it'll make you feel like, oh, they just want someone else to deal with the problem. So if you want
Yeah.
to recommend therapy to somebody, what you need to do is you need to approach just with an open heart and trying to hear them yourself, and to really like just talk about it and help that person feel like comfortable sharing those feelings with you first. And only once they trust you in that way are they going to really listen to somebody who's recommending therapy, because I'm sure this person has heard I should go someone telling him to go to therapy before.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the thought has occurred to him before. But getting from I think maybe I should go to therapy to going to therapy can be a longer road than it should be sometimes. I know that very well for myself.
Yeah. And, as a person that's been in one type of therapy or another for years and years now, therapies work. And, you can go and tell your therapist, this is how I feel, and this is what I think, and this is what I want help with. But that doesn't get you anywhere. You got to do the work. And sometimes that work is just digging in and talking. I know like some therapists like give you homework in between. I used to like that. I don't have the time or the bandwidth for that anymore. But I also want to say to the letter writer, once again, I'm guessing here. I'm reading in between the lines. This sounds a lot like a lot of people that I know and that I'm close to and care about very much. I think therapy is probably only the first step
Mm-hmm.
for your brother. Clinical depression is usually treated with medication. Medication can profoundly change someone's life in really positive and good ways. I've seen that happen. I'm sure lots of people, watching from home have seen that happen too. But how do you have a conversation with someone to tell them that you want them to get help? Because it could very well be that letter writer's brother is sitting there thinking, I'm such a failure. I'm so lazy. I can't get off my ass to do anything. And he's beating himself up about it. But it's not what it is. There's this really great movie called, what is that movie called? Frank? I think it's called Frank. I'm looking it up right now. You ever hear that movie, Oldman? It's with
Let's see.
Michael Fassbender, and he's a musician, but he wears this giant
oh yeah, I saw that movie.
head. There's a
I
line
like that movie.
I love that movie. Michael Fassbender, I know, is a little controversial these days, but there's a line in that movie where people that have discovered how talented of a musician this guy is, that all you never see his face. He always has his giant fake head on.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to his mom and they're like, "What happened to him?" And the mom says, "Nothing happened to him. He's mentally ill." You know, like when I had cancer, no one asked me, what happened to you? What did you do to get this to happen? People just accept you're sick. People get sick. But when it comes to mental illness, people don't think about it that way. Everyone has to think you did something. Something happened to you. There was some trauma. There has to be some easy explanation. That's not how people's bodies work. I mean, I'm sure certainly some types of like mental illnesses that are like trauma responses occur because something horrible did happen to a person. But most of the time, if it's a mental illness, it's just because people get sick, and there's no difference in that and someone, you know, needing to have a kidney taken out because they have a disease or whatever. So I think the way that you have this conversation is to make sure that you keep it focused on you, and to not to say you did this and you need to do that, but to say I see your life, I'm looking at your life, and I'm concerned, and I want you to be better, and I want to be able to help you, and I think what you need to do is you need to start thinking about getting some. I don't know what your diagnosis is, but I think you need to talk to a specialist, because the life you're going through right now, it doesn't have to be this way. You know, I've always said, and we've said on the show before, that empathy isn't an emotion, it's an action. It's something that you do. It's something you feel too, of course, but to actually be empathetic with someone, it's something that you do. So to make sure you communicate that you're in this space, and if you want to get better, then I will be there every step of the way. You need a list of therapists to call, I will find. Tell me what your health insurance is. I will get you a list of therapists. We can call them together if you want to. That's what empathy is, climbing down into the hole and committing to climb out with the person that's stuck in there. And so I think that's what you need to do. This is your brother. This is your family. You have no stronger obligations than that. And he needs to know that. And it's not going to be easy. And maybe he doesn't want to hear it the first time. Maybe you have the conversation and he's hurt and he feels attacked and he gets defensive. So then you let it go and you wait a little while, maybe a few months, maybe a year, and then you do it again. And you reach out to other family members and you have them do it too. He hasn't done anything wrong. Nothing is wrong with him that's not wrong also with millions of other people. And it's the same thing as having a cold. He's got to go to the doctor to get treatment for it. He's got the flu. People don't sit at home if the flu is getting in the way of them being able to live a life for 2 years, that they go and they get treatment. And he's in the same situation and he needs treatment, and therapy is a good place to start, but I doubt that's where it's going to have to end for him.
I might workshop the jumping to therapy thing. Like I said earlier, I think maybe starting the conversation off by expressing care and talking about his feelings, if that's the kind of relationship that you have with him. You don't want to just come in guns blazing, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no, definitely don't start the conversation with, "Hey, you need to do this."
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big fan of starting these kind of difficult conversations with, "I want you to know that there's no teams. We're on the same team. Your happiness and well-being, your ability to thrive is intrinsically tied to my well-being and my ability to thrive." That's what family is. That you can be biologically related to people that you don't have that connection with, and there can be lots of people in your life that you're not biologically related to, that you have that connection with. But if you're committed to being on the same team, then say that. And what being on the same team means is that no one can be happy if everyone's not happy. And you know, when there's someone that's close to me, whether it's a family member or a friend, and I'm about to have a challenging conversation, I always start with that. There's only one team. I'm saying this because it's important to me, and you need to hear what I'm feeling right now.
We're on a team, you and me.
Oh yeah, Oldman, we're definitely on a team. You know, I rank all my friends. I've got a circle. I have several circles of friends, and you've been on the inner circle for a long time.
Oh, okay. Thank God. I was
Yeah,
going to
your
say.
place is solid there. Don't worry about it.
I never want to see that chart, though. I hope it's just in your head.
Yeah, you'd be surprised who's not on it. I actually don't think that's true, Oldman. I think you know everybody that is in every level of every one of those circles.
No, maybe, in some extent. Probably met them over the years anyway.
Yeah. That inner circle's getting smaller and smaller all the time just because people are
busy,
drifting away.
Yeah, that's sad.
I hope that answers your question, letter writer. That's a good one, and it's tricky. I've been in that situation with several people, both bio family and adopted family. And it's hard because you don't want to see someone struggling, but you also, I think everybody knows on some level that you can't get someone to do this profound change in their life and start to do this really challenging work if they don't want to. They have to want to. And if they don't want to,
it's the same as getting sober.
Yeah, it's
exactly
in that way the same. Yeah, I agree with that. You can't get. I mean, in any way that people can change or grow, people don't change and grow unless they want to. That's not true. People don't change and grow in a good way unless they want to, and so you need to be able to get your brother to understand that it doesn't have to be this way.
And that you love him and that you're concerned for him.
Yeah, and that he can have a very different life if he wants to. It's just not going to be easy, and it's probably not going to be fast, but it's doable.
Yeah.
Jugsy says, there's a good question. How do you maintain an inner circle as everyone gets older and spread out geographically and socially and emotionally? Boy, it's a lot of work.
Sure. If you figure that one out, let me know.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. I do a lot of virtual hangouts. Oldman has been a fixture on a long virtual hangout that's also kind of fallen to the wayside, but I think everyone there is committed to bringing that back in the new year.
Good. That's good to hear.
You know, you have to make choices and you have to be planful. You know, I speak in a lot of cliches. In life, good things usually don't happen by accident. You have to make a choice and you have to commit to doing it. And also, on top of that, fun is a skill that you have to practice. And if you don't, you lose it. And the older you get, especially when you have a kid, that it gets more and more work to practice fun. But I'm committed to doing that in that inner circle, you know, and people have come and people have gone from that group, and there are people that I miss dearly that I almost never see and may actually never see again. And that's too bad. People do come and people go. You know, we lived in my partner and I lived in the same big city for most of our adult lives. And then the pandemic happened and the world shut down. And then we had a kid. And then we moved about an hour outside of that city. And so all of these things kind of, it was a lot of change. And most of our friends didn't come with us and couldn't. And also most of our friends, at least at that point, didn't have kids. More of them do now than before, but still lots of them don't. So it got extra challenging to maintain those relationships because we were geographically far apart. But then structurally, our lives are so different because we have a kid. So it's been challenging. One of the things, you know, I mean, this is on a tangent now, but one of the things also that's tricky about having a kid is it's so easy when you have a kid to just have the kid be your life. and you suddenly lose interest in anything that's not related to your kid, or and you lose the ability to talk about or care about anything that's not your kid. And I feel that pull. I'm sure my partner does too, all the time, because
Mhm.
your kid is so much of your life, and it should be, but you have to keep something that's just yours. When you have
Mhm.
a kid, it's important to do that, especially if you want to have friends that don't have kids. Um, and uh, and I have lots of friends that don't have kids, and I'm very much invested in that friendship. So making sure that I have something that's mine, that's just mine, and I have an interest, and I have thoughts, and I have opinions that aren't related to my kid, and I do things and have time that aren't related to my kid. My partner and I make sure that we take turns, or we have a babysitter. And there are times when I go out to party on my own because we don't have a babysitter. There's sometimes she does that. That we have to really commit to keeping um, our pre-kid lives some level of intact. Of course, they've gotten a lot
Mhm.
smaller, but they're still there. And it's an important thing to do. I know so many people that have a kid and then suddenly you can't talk to them. Before I had a kid, I couldn't have a conversation with someone, most people that I knew that had kids, because I didn't want to talk about kids. Honestly, I still don't always want to talk about kids, especially someone else's kid. It's hard to maintain that. Jugsy says, personally, I still have best friends that can pick up wherever we left off, but the gang is never all together. I like the virtual hangs idea. Maybe I'll try that. Yeah, like tomorrow night, two of my best friends that moved away and don't have a kid and have very different and busy in a different way than my life is busy lives. We're gonna virtually hang out. They're not close by. We're gonna virtually hang out and watch a movie together. Um,
Oh,
we had to find something to do that didn't happen by mistake, but
Right.
that's what friendship is, and you have to commit to it. And certainly, Jugsy, there are people that you can see once a year or once every even couple of years, and it's like no time passed. That's a unique type of connection. I think that comes from a lot of shared experiences. My best friend from college, best friend that I made, like, I don't know, my third day in college, which, consider my age, was over 20 years ago. I see them literally once a year, sometimes less. And it's like no time passed. But we went through some serious shit in our younger days. And that type of connection doesn't go away easily. I'm sure
Mhm.
if we went 5 years, it might, but we maintain a connection, and it works. It works for us. Our lives are very, very different, but it's wonderful to pick up with them, like no time has passed, which we do often. Uh,
Yeah, but even those relationships take work to maintain,
yeah,
and that's something that entering my 30s, which is it's not quite 10 years ago, but it's I'm getting older.
yeah. We've
That's
known
something
each
that I
other,
definitely
Oldman, for a long time, for way more than 10 years.
yeah, like 12 or 13 years now,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Um, but
And
yeah, it's
our
something that go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that, yeah, it's something that you have to focus on. You have to reach out now and then just to say, how's it going? And if you want to keep them in your lives, you need to make plans. And I am somebody who gets really bad about that sometimes. And I just isolate myself and I disappear, or I disappear as much as somebody who runs a massive social media thing can disappear. Um, uh, yeah, but that's something. It has to be really intentional, and that's especially true between. I don't, I can't really know because I'm not a woman, but it feels like to me keeping your male friends as you get older is difficult. Let's just say that it's a
Yeah.
difficult thing to do, and it
Well, and
takes you need to expend some energy and real thought about it.
so much of like male culture is about not doing that.
Yeah.
I agree. Like I've been uh my kids just started preschool, and she's made friends, and like will come home and mention a friend by name and that she wants to hang out with them. So then we meet the other parents. And it's like all of the dads are the same. They're like, and I'm the same way when I meet another dad. I'm like, please, like, let's hang out. I don't know a lot of dads. And then also like knowing a dad that's like present and cares and is invested is an even rarer thing to do.
Hmm.
I one of these days I've been meaning to, and this is one of those things where like it takes work and you have to do it. But I think I want to do like a dad's hangout. Like no kids, no no female style partners for those that have them. Just like dads get together, have a drink, and just we don't have to talk about kids and being dads if we don't
Hmm.
want to, but the possibility is there because it's hard. You know, most of the other male parents that I've met are you know they're doing it on easy mode. They're doing it like 50%.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so finding another dad that's like cares and is present and is there and is like excited is a special thing. And most of the dads I've met at my kids' school are that type of dad, and I so desperately want to be
Hmm.
besties
Another thing
with
that
all
I
of
just
them.
thought of that I tried to start doing this a while back, but then I kind of forgot about it. You know how you'll often see like if a woman posts a picture of herself, her female friends will be gassing her up in the comments like
Oh yeah, yeah,
slay
yeah.
or or whatever, positive feedback like that. Why don't guys do that? We should be gassing each other up in the
Yeah,
comments
I agree.
every time we see a picture of
I
one
agree.
another.
It's
Looking
you know
good, dude. Like whatever. I'm sure I could come up with something more risque, right? But I'm not going to do it on your stream. Um,
um yeah, I agree with that. It's you know I mean, I think I can't speak for you, old man, but like at least for me, I'm of an age where still where the worst thing that someone could call you when I was like a boy was a girl.
hmm.
The worst thing that someone could accuse you of was being gay. And that sucks. And I think that's a lot of where that comes from is like
Oh
you
yeah.
I think that most of us want to do that, but somewhere deep in the back of my mind, I'm still like, I don't want people to think so and so about me or whatever. And first off, I remember that I went to performing arts high school and I was a dance minor. So most people my entire life have thought that I'm gay. So I shouldn't care. Well, no one should care, but it shouldn't even be news to me. And I feel like that's got to be part of like the subconscious like toxicity of it all.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
We all have these learned patterns
Yeah,
from
we do,
you know
and it's
history
really
and
too bad.
yeah. I mean, I had a lot of homophobic bullying when I was growing up too, and eventually, here's my story for like my bullying, story that I tell people, which is true. It's true, and it's not exaggerated. I used to wear these bowling shirts with flames on them,
Yeah, yeah.
and so
It
clearly,
goes the
I
'90s.
got
Everybody
called
was doing that. Do you ever have a bucket hat?
well 2000s, probably at some point. But anyway, they called me Flamer, obviously, and I remember that I leaned into it. Like I bought more of those bowling shirts. I got shoes with
Yeah,
flames on them and everything. I was decked out in flames,
yeah,
and I kind of just owned it. And I'm really glad that I did that back then because I feel like leaning into it probably deprogrammed me from some of that stuff that I might have otherwise had for longer in my life.
yeah. And you know, there's so much. There's so many things in society that everybody puts up to hold themselves back, and men do it so much more than anybody else does. And it's too bad. Should we play a little bit more of the game?
Yeah,
I feel like
absolutely.
I'm ready to build a whole bunch of houses.
Yeah, let's build some houses. Let's get the condos in. Uh, Add like a little extension on top that like doesn't fit in the neighborhood and is painted some wild color,
Yeah,
like they do in Washington D.C.
like a pop up.
Yeah, pop up. That's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. So I think I'm gonna go out this way. Oh, I hate how that
Flame
happened.
shirts lit. Thank you, Jugsy. Literally,
Literally. I mean, if
several
it's good
puns in
enough for
there.
Guy Fieri, then it's good
Right?
enough for all of us, right?
I should get me a flame shirt just to remind myself of that story. and wear it every now and then.
Okay, I've got fully stocked gatherers, so I'll start to get some food. And I got one woodcutter. That's all looking pretty good.
See, if you lived in a place like this, it would be real easy to keep in touch with your childhood friends.
Oh, yeah. It would be very dangerous to accidentally have children with a family member.
Well, I mean that's the case in across the board,
Yeah,
isn't
I guess
it? I wish that there were sounds, and I'm just kind of imagining that they sound like lemmings, like
man, I should find Lemmings is a good game. I should find a
Yeah,
way
it
to
is.
play Lemmings.
It holds up for sure.
Yeah. What should I do now? We need lots of food, and I feel like I should also start collecting medicine. So this is how. Remember, I was saying that there's like you have to have like old growth forest.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna build a road up here. Can I do this? No. Can I build a tunnel? No. Can I build a tunnel here? So I think my problem with building a tunnel though is I really wish I had audio here. Is the road. Can I take the road down? Remove roads. We'll let someone clear that out, and then I'll try to build a tunnel. And then we'll go and build a tunnel on the other side of this hill, and I'll let this kind of be like wild growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's winter time. How we doing on food? I can't tell. I don't have any medicine. I got lots of firewood. Textiles, alcohol, clothes. I have no food, so that's not good. People might die.
Ruh-roh.
What? Whoa. Can I do? No.
Don't eat the dogs.
No,
don't eat this dog.
I don't think we have dogs.
Oh, that can be a DLC.
Dog DLC, DDLC. Well, I have these cows. Can I build a farm?
Can you name the cows?
Let's see. Nope.
Damn.
No, I cannot.
Unplayable.
Give up. Man, I need food. What can we do? Can I build a fish deal? I can build a fish deal. And what about the hunters? I got plenty of hunters. Let's build a road out to the fish deal. If you're just now joining the stream, this is the advice stream. I'm your host, JeremyInternational. I am joined as per the usual by old men. We are playing 2014's Banished for the PC. And it is wintertime and probably everyone's going to die. If you'd like to seek advice from us on the advice stream, then please head on over to JeremyInternational.com, where on you can use the contact form. You can also just throw something into the chat if you want to. But we're going to get some fish going. I do have available workers. Fisherman 4. And we'll see how that works out. And I'll build another house.
I have a really random question. I just want to say this because I'm curious. This is a silent whistle. I'm going to blow it, and you're going to tell me if you hear anything.
Okay. Yes, I can hear it very clearly.
Does it sound like a whistle or just like a silent whistle? Because I'm wondering about the audio processing. I'm sure that like some mics would pick it up,
Is
but
it
I'm
a
not sure
dog
how it
whistle?
might spit it back out.
Can you not hear it on your end?
I mean,
That's
no, I
weird.
can't. I mean, I can hear a little air going through it, but look, I mean, he's gonna react. Watch. Right. You don't like that, do you? You're on this side.
It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like a normal whistle to me. It sounds like air escaping from something.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like on my end too. But like, I was just curious because you know how like some cameras can see infrared.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I thought maybe, I don't know. It's just a little science experiment for all our viewers out there.
I'm building a herb gathering hut so I can have some medicine out here in the woods. And I'm also gonna build, where is it? A forestry lodge right next to it. Because the forestry lodge will make sure that there's dense tree growth all around. So there's always
this is like
herbs there.
The old witch's hut in the forest is what you're building.
Yes. Yes, it is. Oh, my kid woke up. She's crying. I hope I wasn't making too much noise.
Jugsy says he doesn't want to disappoint, but he doesn't think those cheap dog whistles work at all. I actually have like an electric one that is directional that I use most of the time, but I saw this and I just put it around my neck earlier, and I was wondering certain things. Anyway, sorry about that detour there.
I'm building a little pasture so I can start to get food from those cows. Because we have so many.
Did you ever try to play Dwarf Fortress at all?
I haven't. I'm familiar with it, but I've never played it before.
I tried. I watched one of those hour-long YouTube tutorials to try to learn how to play it, and I never really got past very far in the game. I think the thing that really threw me, and something I like about this game, is in Dwarf Fortress you have to like set aside areas for storage of things, and in this game that's just like a building. The building does it. You don't have to like shape it or anything. If I'm right, I might be wrong about that though. So you tell me.
Yeah, I don't know. People have started to die from starvation. So them's the breaks.
Whoops.
Come on, hunters, do something. But that's no good. I'm gonna pause building out here so that I can focus on the pasture for the cows. But yes, not a good scene right now. So then I can go in here and say cattle. And I think that's all that there they go. So I don't remember, do I get cheese? Do I get cheese from these?
I think cows go moo and pigs go oink.
Yes, thank you.
He's very helpful here.
Too. Yeah, that's super helpful. My 2-year-old could have told me that.
She's a genius, though.
I mean, she's smarter than average. Yeah, more people are starving to death. So this is how the colony fails, which might be what we're looking at. Jugsy says, I wish I could get into DF. I'm assuming that's Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah.
Even the new graphic user interface one, I've never played RimWorld, but I've also heard really good things about it.
It looks interesting.
Hopefully we get something going on from these here cows. and the fishing people. But things ain't looking so good, my friend. Let's pause and do another question.
Yes, something we can handle.
Yeah, we're also, man, it's already 10:30. The night's been flying by. What do we got here?
Prison Architect. I saw that game and it looks like my type of game in general, but just the whole idea of building a prison, I don't think I could do it.
I played a little bit. Yeah, I think you can make the prison nice.
How nice can a prison be?
Oh man, wait, hold on. I saw a question today. Where did that question go? I didn't make a note about it, but it was so good I have to go back and find it. Hang on, everybody.
Yeah, I'll have them do tricks. Sit. Oh, that's a stretch. You sit now. You sit. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
I don't know, this is more of just me telling a story. I don't remember where this question is. I read an advice column question earlier today that was so insane. It's probably not true, but this is what the person said. Letter writer says their brother-in-law passed away suddenly at a young age a number of years ago. And it was sudden and traumatic, and everyone was shocked. So some cousin like stepped in and took over like planning the whole funeral.
Okay.
And shortly before he died, the brother-in-law had been gifted a very nice and very expensive guitar by his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And the cousin decided that he should be buried with it. So have an open casket. They're in a culture where they do that. And everyone can see that the guitar is there in his casket with him. And then at some point during the service, the letter writer mentions to one of the people that worked at the funeral home that they think it's ridiculous that they're going to bury him with this guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, they close the casket and it goes away, and then they all go to the grave site and they see the casket go into the ground. And then later that day, the funeral home employee shows up and must have misunderstood, hands the letter writer the guitar that everyone in the family thinks he was buried with. So they don't know what to do. They don't tell anybody, and they hide the guitar in their house. And then years go by, and now the mother of this poor guy that died is starting to say how much she regrets burying him with the guitar, and she wished that she had it as a memento of her son who was deceased. And the person is saying, should I tell her that I've had the guitar for all of these years? I don't know a good answer for that question. I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say yes, and here's why. Because that is like a plot of a beautiful story. And if that person reveals it and like thinks of a good way to like ease into it, I don't know how you ease into something like that. But if she really has been saying like I wish that he hadn't been buried with a guitar, and then somebody shows up with a guitar in the right way, I could easily see this lady, assuming she's religious, be like, oh my gosh, a miracle type of thing. But who knows?
But how do you do that? What's the right way to say?
I don't know.
So you're not going to believe this, but I've had it it's been like 10 or 15 years or something, I think they said. Like I've had it for all of this time sitting in my closet, and I didn't want to tell anybody.
I mean, yeah, that's going to be hard to explain. The cover up is half the crime. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It to me, it just strikes me like if this lady really misses her son and has been saying this, has been repeating it, I guess it could go sideways, but it just seems like such a nice bow on the end of the story.
And I guess if I remember the letter correctly, the person that wrote the letter didn't say, I told them to give me the guitar. That they said something generally innocuous, like, I don't think that it's a great idea to bury him with this guitar because someone's going to want it in the future. And then the funeral home person misunderstood and handed them the guitar later. And then they didn't know what to do. I mean, I guess it depends on the nature of the relationship they have with their mother-in-law. If it was like their actual mother, then that's maybe an easier sell.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, you can lose support from your mother-in-law in the way that you can't from your actual uh, birth family or whatever. And I don't know, it's super stressful.
yeah. That
I
is
think
a funny situation.
I'm inclined to be like you could have mentioned it right then and there, but you didn't, and now it's too late, and you just gotta kind of have to do your best.
I think we might know a fellow who's willing to buy a guitar.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, if you want to just get rid of the evidence, because then what's going to happen at some point? The letter writer is going to get old and die, and then someone in the family is going to come in and find this guitar, and they're going to be like, "What? Why is this guitar there?" And then the secret's not going to be kept forever.
Yeah, that's true.
But you shouldn't have to feel guilty about a secret that comes out after you're dead because you're dead, and you can't be held accountable for it anymore. I guess. Okay.
Very astute.
That was more of like a get a load of this. Here's an actual question. A couple of years ago, my dad was widowed after my mom died suddenly. I mean, I'm talking a lot about death tonight. Sorry, everybody. He was in his mid 80s, but in decent health. He asked more than once if if he could come stay with my wife, 3 kids, and me. I was shocked when my wife told me it was a hard no, absolutely out of the question. We fought long and hard about it. It was a very difficult time, and excuse me, and truly I still resent it. I was very close to my father, and we had an in-law apartment he could have moved into, and our kids adored him and he them. In the end, my brother remodeled a part of his home many states away, and my dad went there. He lived there until he died. A few months ago, he lived there until he died a few months ago, and we've just recently learned that he left a sizable inheritance to my brother, while the other siblings and I received significantly smaller amounts of money. My wife is beside herself. She accuses me of keeping this potential inheritance from her when she made the decision she did. But my father never discussed his money with us. I'm under the impression we got the inheritance we deserved and ought to be thankful for it. My wife is quite upset about the money we missed out on. I'm afraid this is going to cause lasting damage to my marriage.
Well, um, she's the one that's causing the lasting damage.
Yeah, and I'd say the fact that she refused, you had a free apartment for your dad to move into, and she said no. That should have been the end of it, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. And for her to come back after he's dead and be like, "Oh my God, I might have let him stay if I knew he was
If
going to give
only
us
I knew.
money."
Yeah.
How like that's not a nice thing to say or think
There's a
or
couple of
believe or
pieces
feel.
of information I'd like to know though. If there
Yeah,
was, it says that they fought long and hard about it. What was their
yeah,
reasoning for not wanting him there? Maybe there's something creepy or inappropriate or dangerous about the father that the letter writer can't see because it's his dad.
I suppose.
That might be one reason I can uh, not feel really horrible about
Yeah, but
this
on the other
story.
hand, she's saying now like, "Oh well, if I'd known that we could have gotten some money out of it," which is not the most like
Yeah,
protecting mama bear type of sentiment you might
no,
imagine somebody who was thinking that to have.
yeah. But I mean, assuming that this everything here is what it appears to be, I'm not sure that I would have even continued in a marriage where, I mean, it's not like you'd have to sell your kid's college fund or whatever to make it work. They had a place for him to live, and they
Yeah,
still said no.
yeah,
I
that's a big deal.
they got exactly what deserved. They probably shouldn't have gotten anything. He didn't stand up for what was the right thing to do at the time when
Yeah,
he should have, and it is what it is. And he should feel uh, intense guilt about that, and should start looking at maybe finding a partner that appreciates family and doing the right thing when it's it's the but we've said this on the show before too. I feel like I just repeat all the same cliches I always do. But nothing in life counts when things are easy. Only things in life that matter is when things are hard. Any relationship you have only matters when there's a struggle. And this was a time when there was an easy. It was clear that the what the right path was, and your wife refused, and that should be everything you need to know. Should have been then,
Yeah.
although,
Then
yeah.
I think Jugsy has a good point here. But
Yeah,
again, taking the letter at face value is what we're doing right now. But that would be a very good reason to say
Jugsy's
no.
point there is fundamentally different than what I was making for sure. I mean, if the person
No.
is dangerous, if they have dangerous views, especially when you have children around, that's a totally
Yeah.
different story. And it's telling to me that the letter writer doesn't mention why the wife said no. Either
Yeah.
they never had a conversation about it because she always gets what she wants, and the we fought long and hard about it isn't really true, or she had a really legitimate reason to not want the father to move in, and the letter writers decided to conveniently leave that out.
Right. Yeah, that's assessed part of it for
Yeah.
sure.
Um,
He's chewing on my toes.
my cat started to bite at me too if I'm late feeding him. And by late feeding him, I mean on time feeding him. He'll like actually come up and start chewing on my feet. He's never done that before.
He just wants attention. He wants to play. Go outside.
Whew. Okay, well, if I start this up again, we're gonna have a total
Yeah, that's not how we want to end
collapse.
this show.
Yeah, I know.
Is it?
Well, you never know. I mean, I pulled through under closer. Let's see how these cows work out.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
give it
see
a
the
couple
cows
more
get to the
minutes.
field.
But I'm giving everyone a content warning here that we might see a societal collapse.
Yeah.
Let's see. We do have people still working the fishery, and we have people working the cow deal, but I do have 0 food. What if this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna shut down this gathering hut, and I'm gonna build another gathering hut up here in the woods, because there will be food here. What else can I shut down? The Hunter's Lodge probably isn't gonna find anything because there's no. Oh no, there's deer over there. The Hunter's Lodge might still work.
What does the fork and the knife mean?
That they're starving.
Oh my gosh.
Over a house, it means there's no food in the house. So here's a little mechanism about how the game works. So people in the house, they'll go to work, and then on their way home from work, if they need something, they'll go by the barn to get it. The barn here is where food and clothes and tools are going to be. So they'll come by and pick it up. I can build a market if I want to, which is more efficient because the market holds more different kinds of things. And you can build markets all over the place. But until there's a market, they go to the barn. If they need something like food or clothes or tools to do their job, and they go to the barn and it's not there, then they just go home and wait till the next day and then go back to work again. And then if they don't have food, then eventually they die. Oh, my food is this food? Food's taken up. So hopefully this is going to get resolved here pretty fast. I hope. And then we can get about our business. Nope, food went back down to 0. That's okay. But the gatherers and the herb gatherers, and I think the hunters too, do better when there's old growth forest. The old growth generates more deer for them to hunt and so on. I just don't remember what the cows produce.
They eat hay.
Yeah, and I think that this provides food. I don't have to provide food for them, but I just don't remember. Do they just give me leather, or do they give me meat? Do they give me cheese? I know there's a mod that lets you do cheese. I just don't think I have that mod installed. But I think there's no more. Either everyone starved to death or we've solved our food problem and we just need to wait for our population to come back a little bit. People are still having a hard time getting food. Yeah, so this is Banished. It's as you can see, it's very challenging. I know that I normally run a lot of mods, but I'm not, for whatever reason, they're not working right now. It's been a while since I've loaded this game, so I might not have loaded the mods correctly. But if you like this kind of game, food is coming. I got 12 foods, and then it's down to 0. But we might be able to survive this after all. We'll see.
40. Oh, I'm sorry. Come here, buddy.
While we get close to the end of the time, everybody, Holden had to step away for a minute, I guess.
Sorry.
That's okay. As we get close to the end of time, I just want to remind everyone that this has been the advice stream. I've been your host, JeremyInternational. I've been joined today by Bark by Oldman. Thanks for participating, everybody. It's nice to see everyone. I hope everyone has as safe as anyone can expect these days, safe and sustainable New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see you next week, where hopefully we'll be trying out either SimCity for the Super Nintendo or SimCity 2000 for the PlayStation.
Yeah, and I might have one fewer limb next week if this keeps going.
I know, Oldman's dog is eating his hand as we speak. I'll go ahead and say, though, that I think we made it because it's wintertime. Food is ticking up and down. We just had a child move into being a worker, so the people we lost are being replaced. And I think maybe the community would make it. I might play this for a little bit longer on my own because I'm now just remembering how much I love this game.
And you know what? We also made it through 2023, so congrats to everybody.
We did. 2024 is going to be the real one.
Except not congrats to Kissinger. Ow!
I would never wish death on a fellow primate, but he definitely did lots of bad things.
Yeah, wow. Subject for another show.
Another show. Not another episode of this show, just another show.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amir. I hope you have a good week too. But be safe, everyone, and we'll see you next Monday at the same time, probably. And we'll play a different game and we'll give different advice. Have a great night.
Sounds great.